Okay, so a little background. I was about 10 at the time, and my brother, who was 10 years old, were taking swimming lessons at the public pool about 10 minutes away from our house. We would go for our lesson every Friday evening, and usually afterwards we would just chill at the spa pool until Dad was ready. On this particular Friday evening, my brother and I were at the spa pool, doing kid stuff and whatnot, when I noticed a man sitting directly across from the spa from me and just kind of staring at me. The spa is about 12 meters in length. The man was tall and thin and had a very pointy nose and button-like eyes. He had a very short, thin gray hair and his skin was unusually red. I didn't think much of it at the time, and I had seen this man around the pool before, and I think my dad may have had a conversation with him at some point, but he continued to stare, and it made me so uncomfortable that I had to get out of the spa and sat outside waiting for my dad. I started seeing him everywhere. Wherever I was, he was. Grocery stores, malls, outside of my school, and always at my Friday night swimming lesson. I never told my dad about seeing him everywhere. I thought maybe I was overreacting and that I was naive to the obvious danger. I remember one instance where I was at the department store with my mom, and I saw him down at the end of the very aisle. We went down and said nothing. Red flags started going off when he decided to carry a camera around with him. He would always be in a completely black outfit, with his camera bag around his neck just watching me. One day I was at the mall with a few friends when one of them pointed him out before I even noticed him. I told them about the man and that the way he looked at me, and my friend's older sister advised me to tell security so that he would be removed. As soon as he saw us coming, he got up and left. Flash forward about 2 years or so. Haven't seen my stalker friend in a long time now. He's becoming a distant memory. Until I get called into the school office because my uncle was here to collect me early. As soon as I saw him, there, arms wide open in my fucking school office waiting for me, I felt sick. I had forgotten about this man, and 2 years later, he has the nerve to come and try to get me out of school. And he has his camera. I marched right past him to the office woman and simply said, "This man is not my uncle," and walked back to class. At lunch, he was outside my school. He would wave and try to get me to come over, or he would hold up a chocolate bar as some kind of child bait. So his random school appearances continued to the point where the school needed to contact my parents and let them know about the situation. My dad was distraught, having actually spoken to this man before and demanded the police be contacted so we can get a restraining order or something. That's when we found out the man was a convicted sex offender. The police took his camera and found hundreds of photos of me, some of which were zoomed up into my bedroom windows of my own house. We got a restraining order, and thankfully, I haven't seen him since. A little backstory. I'm a 20-year-old, short, petite female working at Subway, and I can't help but be nice to anybody, even if they creep me out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago, we had this guy, 35 to 40 years old, who would come in every day for lunch. He was fascinated by my stretched ears and few piercings I had on my face, and always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him out and watch me at his table for 2 hours non-stop, just staring at me while I helped the other customers. This goes on for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number, saying he has plugs and tunnels he wants to give me and see me wearing them in my ear, and I always politely declined. One day, I'm alone in the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were really slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone. I heard the door chime, looked up, but nobody was there. Then I saw the man walk past the front of the store really quickly, like he was in a hurry. The store phone rings. "Thanks for calling Subway. How can I help you?" This is a girl with the nice ears, right? Yes. Who is this? Are you alone in the back room right now? Are you working by yourself? At this point, I really got creeped out, and I knew it was him. I hung up and texted my manager the situation so she would hurry back. He called again, this time asking me very weird questions, like what I would do with him in the room with the door locked, if I had a boyfriend, and why I was playing hard to get. My manager gets back and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls again. This time my manager answers, and to this day, she has never told me what he said, but the look of fear made my spine shiver. She told him if he called again or showed up here, she would call the police. I thought that was the end of it, but alas, I was wrong. 1 week later, I'm clocking out and getting ready to walk to my car, parked in the front, when I look outside and I see him standing by my car looking inside of it. I was an idiot and left the back door unlocked. I watch him crawl inside and shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my fucking back seat and do God knows what to me when I got in. My manager locked the front door of our store and called the police. When they arrived, they had to pretty much drag him out of the car, and he was arrested. On him was a butcher knife, a rope, and a rag with chloroform on it. If I hadn't looked up when I did, I probably would be dead by now. So, I live at home with my mom, 16-year-old sister, and our cats. We live in the inner city suburb, which is generally pretty safe. A few weeks ago, we got a new chicken and a chip shop opened up on the road. 2 men worked there. Originally, we thought that they were father and son, but now we're not so sure. One is about 40-ish, and the other maybe 19 or 20. My sister Kate and I went to this chicken shop a couple times. Kate mentioned that the younger guys were a little bit weird and flirty and stared at her, but I assumed it was just because she was beautiful and looks older than what she is. She gets stared at a lot. Anyways, I've been into the shop and noticed he stared at her quite intently and didn't speak, not even to ask what we wanted or anything. At this point I thought maybe he has something a bit wrong with him. No big deal. Until we get to Tuesday night this week. I go and get chips with my sister. We are sitting and waiting, and he is staring at her like usual. I turn around to see him, and he's about to put chicken salt on again, and I tell him again for plain salt. He salts them, and then puts them in a plastic bag, but keeps them behind the counter, where we can't get them, and he keeps staring. I figure he's putting napkins in the bag, so I turn back to Kate and wait for him to tell us that they're ready. About a minute goes past, and I turn around and he's still staring, so I say, are they ready? And he nods, so I go get them and we leave. As we are walking down the street to our house, my sister looks behind and realizes he's out at the front of his shop, waiting for us down the street. He watches us until we get to our own street and turn down, and then he goes inside. Weird, but whatever. The next night, my sister decides she needs to go get some tanning lotion and ice cream. So she goes up to the supermarket, which is opposite of the chicken shop. He's standing out front and watches her the whole time. As she turns into our street, he has got into his car at some point and comes screaming up the street in his car. Braking and speeding and screeching. He goes around the block 3 times, and she comes running and scared. We walk back out to the shop, but as we get to the street before it, he comes out with an older guy and watches us, so we turn down the street and stand out of view behind a truck. His car is parked behind the shop, and we realize he has gotten into it. He can't see us, but we can see the car, and the lights are on now. We decide it's safest to walk back towards the main road, so we do so, and when we do, he pulls out of the driveway and goes to the block the other way. We walk into our street and Kate says he will drive up to our street any second, and sure enough he does, same as before. Now we come to today. We are all still a bit freaked out and convinced he's following and watching her. She walks to the bus stop this morning and he follows her in his car as soon as he sees her. She freaks and gets on the first bus that arrives and then calls us. She goes to the school and we say if he is there, where he gets scared, then go to the office. Nothing happens for the rest of the day. Now I was in college this evening. I got home after 10 or so. Everyone in my house was in bed but not asleep. I park behind a car and realize it's this guy's car. Which is weird since he has a car parked specifically for his car behind his shop. I get out of the car and kind of look in, and I think I see him in the front seat, but don't want to get too close. As I walk to my house, I keep turning back to look at his car and try to see him. As I'm about to go to my gate, I have a final look and realize something's changed, so I go back onto my road and see that he was in the car watching our house and was pulling out. I then charge back towards him. I'm just a short blonde girl with glasses, so unfortunately I'm not very intimidating. He pulls out and speeds down the street, almost hitting me, and flies over a speed bump. So, that's where we're at now. I'm freaked. My sister is terrified. Mom is going to speak to him tomorrow and say if it doesn't stop, we are reporting him. Although we don't think anything can be done until he actually does something, which is a stupid law.